It is time to make the sound to summon the string. Wow, 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 wow. Greetings, dear viewers. I'm Quill Quickcard, and welcome back to the Community RPG Maker Project. Last time, we finished building the third act of our game. And instead of bothering myself trying to remember my intros and whatnot, let's actually just hop right in to what has been done. In between streams, I got the arena working. So let's give a little work. We offer 2 types of challenges here at the arena. In champion battles, you'll fight against 4 of our tribe's greatest warriors. You will never know exactly what kind of skills they will use against you. In dream gauntlets, you will face off against a sequence of the most powerful foes from your own memories. Winning battles will earn you arena points that can be exchanged for some valuable items at the trader over there. You cannot die in the arena, so don't worry, a loss will simply return you right here. So, champion battle, exactly what it sounds like. Basically, you just fight against a series of 4 semi-randomized opponents. You have to pay attention to what they actually do, or you'll never be able to find efficient ways to defeat them. And for this part in the game, they are pretty much stronger than you can deal with. So we're just going to use our debug codes to win the fight. Alright, not bad. Magnificent, our challengers bested even our greatest fighters. You've earned your reward. You get 500 arena points. Then over here, we have arena rewards. One of the things you can get, I actually need to adjust that dialogue explaining. I have the arena points. So you can get a Super Pepsi 6-pack. This just restores 800 health to the whole party. You can get a Super Monster 6-pack. This restores half of the stamina to the entire party. I may need to change the name simply because it really does feel like you're getting 6 of these and 6 of these and you're not. For 5,000, you can get a Necklace of Immunity for complete status effect immunity. You can get Katasby's Ultimate Claws for 10,000 points. And for 300 points, you can get Bags of Crafting Materials, which contain 4 to 7 randomized weighted crafting items, including the newer ones from the 3rd tier, like the Beast Hides. So it's a good way to grind up crafting materials. And finally, we have the Dream Gauntlet, which is just a boss rush mode. And I got that working in between streams as well. And eventually I'm going to have it possible to unlock the Nightmare Gauntlet somehow. And that's going to be a boss rush, but it's going to be against revamped versions of all the bosses that I make actually all of them into true in-game threats. So they'll still have the general same mechanics, but it's going to be tweaked and be significantly more difficult. So I'm actually quite proud of what I managed to do in between streams. You don't get XP or gold for the gauntlet battles. And you start by earning 5 arena points, and then the amount that you earn keeps getting higher and higher and higher. And eventually, once you're around, like, the false Hydra fight, it's basically earning you points at a faster rate than doing the arena battles. So that is what I have designed there, and just for the sake of finishing that and being thorough, we're going to run to the Catfolk Village. I really do need to change this. The 6-pack... why don't we just call them Super Pepsi and Super Monster? That's just going to be like the easiest way to kind of express that. All right. And so we'll just take the 6-pack part out of the name. And do just a little bit of dialogue work here. And once we're ready for this, we will actually look at our agenda for the day. Okay, rewards info. Super Pepsi restores 800 HP to the entire party. Super Monster restores half of maximum stamina to the entire party. Then we have the bag. Right. Bag of crafting materials. Contains 4 to 7 random crafting materials, including the best ones. We'll just make that very clear what that is. I should probably put the point totals here as well. So I was running, what, 200, 600, 300. Okay. Super Pepsi, 200 points. Super Monster, 600 points. Bag of crafting materials, 300 points. The immunity necklace, which is 5,000 points and protects against almost all status ailments. I'm going to say almost all. Protects against almost all effects that negatively protects against almost all negative conditions. I think that's fine. I'm going to say almost all because there's probably at least one thing I've put in here somewhere that just applies a state to a player, bypassing other things. And then the ultimate clause, 10,000 points. I still don't know what the ultimate clause are actually going to be called yet, but there we go. Okay. That is good, and I do have an important message here I was waiting on that I do need to reply to. And now we can work on our actual agenda for today. So let's take a look. The first thing I want to do today is I actually want to work on designing Timmy. So we're going to design their model, design their stats, work on their abilities. Next thing I want to do is to design the random weather system for when you go out into the world map. I've kind of gotten an idea of how I want that weighted. Then I want to start some work, if possible, on the viewer-designed city and more Act 4 planning. Coles, if you are up for it today, we can start working on a city that you design. Or if you would prefer, you can just start listing like specifications in the Discord, either now or before next week. Basically, whatever's going to work with you, we'll try to make it work. One thing I do know about that viewer design city, though, is that it will probably serve as the primary hub for Act 4 of the game. So it's where you're going to have buyable tier 8 gear. It'll have a Pepsi portation spot, a witch school, the cats. It'll have tips on other Act 4 locations, elemental defense gear. Yeah, stuff like that. I have some notes. So, anyway, let's start working on Timmy. So, Timmy is a character that we introduced all the way back in Act 1. And we save her in the forest. So this is what we're sort of using as our starting position. I'm just going to take the image as a reference. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we can literally just design Timmy to look however we want, and then just add Timmy back into the Act 1 dialogue. Like, we don't need to match that. We can just design from scratch. So, let's do that. It is a kid. What kind of clothing options do we have for kids? We actually have a lot of clothing options. So Timmy is going to be a dragon slayer. They should be fairly visually distinct. We are not having a little girl with a bell collar. Absolutely not. We could go for more of an armored look, or we could go for more of just like a clothing style. There's not too much here that's really good for armor. Timmy specializes in light armor. That's something that we decided. I kind of like this one. I think this is a fun one to play around with. No one really has a cape. Like, Thatcher has a shawl. I think it would be okay to actually give a cape here. Accessories look fine. Okay. Um, just for the sake of variety, having a darker skinned character should be fine. Yeah, I think the variety works well. Um, yeah, why not? What kind of hair? Because we do have Timmy is a girl. That's one thing that we decided. I have to admit that I am fond of the twin tails. I like the way that those look. And then we need something on the front. Her hair is definitely more wild. I think I think that's okay. Um, hair color. Honestly, just some black hair is probably fine. Um, yeah, we don't have anybody with just like black hair. Yeah, I think that works. Regular ears for the eyes. I mean, we can kind of use this as a neutral because we're going to have to generate multiple faces. Kind of like those just solid green eyes. Malter's got green eyes. Okay, so let's move away from the blue or from the blue and the green. Yeah, okay, yellow eyes. Uh eyebrows, that's fine. They can actually have a nose. Honestly, that mouth's kind of fun. No, that's a little too wide. I think that's fine. We don't need any of that. So now we need the color. So Thatcher is basically gold, purple, and blue. Malter is black and white. Elena is white and pink. Katasby is very much kind of gray and red. We don't have a lot of representations of greens and yellows. Can we do something fun with that? The cloak is fine. I mean, I guess it works. None of those accessories. Don't really need the piercings. Feather is kind of fun. Mask is kind of fun. I mean, it is definitely a different kind of look. If I am gonna go, I kind of like this feather. I don't think it looks especially good on the face, is the thing now. Like, I think it looks okay in the walking and the battling sprites. I don't quite like it on the face. I think this is what we're going to go with for Timmy. So let's just adjust the face locations a little bit. Okay. Yeah, I think I like that. Okay. So this is going to be Timmy. So now we need a few variations on Timmy. This is like a neutral Timmy face. We need like a very happy Timmy face. The problem is color the outline colors for some of them really don't do well with the darker skin tone. There we go. Okay, this is Happy Timmy. Now we need Sad Timmy. Okay. This is going to be Sad Timmy. Now we need Angry Timmy. This can kind of be for like a pouting Timmy. I mean, I guess this works. We can go with like kind of a narrowed eye. Like, really? Do we have anything a little more overt? That works. Okay, I like that Timmy face. Okay. Let's go with kind of like, yeah, I don't like the tongue. I thought I'd like the tongue on that face. I don't. Okay, kind of sly Timmy. Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a subtle look. I like that. Okay. So there we're gonna have Sly Timmy. Let's go for a confused Timmy. How do we express like a confused Timmy? Uh We might just go with... I think we're really going to have the eyes to sell it. What kind of looks like confused, uncertain? I don't know if I really have one, but I can go... I can fiddle with the eyebrows a little bit here. Okay. I think that's about as good as I can do for the Timmy faces. And then I do want a version... I do want a version that's just kind of neutral. For, like, the opening of the game. So... that's fine. Let's take the walking character. So we've got Timmy. We need the damaged version of Timmy, in case that ever becomes necessary. We need the Battler version of Timmy. Okay. So now we're going to make a more neutral one. We're going to make a Timmy that doesn't quite look so awesome. We're just going to have a more casual Timmy that we can use in the opening of the game. It's fine. Black shoes, that's fine. Okay. So this is going to be start of the game, Timmy. And we are also going to need the version of Timmy for that. As well as the damaged version, in case that ever becomes necessary. There we go. Okay, we now have Timmy. We have designed the character model for Timmy. Now we are going to work on Timmy's stats. So I think I kind of want to use Elena as a starting point. Yeah, we'll take Paladin as a starting point. We'll put it here. This is going to be Dragon Slayer. Their skill type is going to be number 15. Which is going to be slaying. And their weapon of choice is the spear. They can use light armor. They can use general armor. They can use light helmets. They can use the crowbar type stuff. Do I want them to be able to use shields? They can use shields. Okay. Alright, so you do get shields. I think that's everything. So the HP curve, we're going to lower it a bit. We're actually going to go pretty low MP for Timmy. Attack is pretty decent. Defense is okay. Magic attack is higher. Magic defense, sure. Agility, let's actually go pretty fast on agility, and then luck can go like this. Okay. We will remove the skills from them. Okay, yeah, that works for stats. So there's Timmy's stats, and now we're going to start working on Timmy's actual abilities. And let's start working from, like, here, from 203. Because I do not believe any of these have been used. Okay, so we'll start from 204. And let's look at the actual abilities that we have gotten. We have an anti-dragon spear attack. We have an attack plus debuff is lightning. Since we really can't adjust the speed of things, we have ice. Attack to reduce healing, that is fire. We have the execution ability that we had discussed sooner. Tantrum ability to annoy enemies. Okay, so these are our starting abilities. What even is luck? It factors into evasion, critical hit rate, I think. So let's start. Yeah, let's start with the anti-dragon. So we're going to have to add anti-dragon element. And we'll just copy one of Katasby's things. Yeah, we'll just copy, like, Beast Blind. And this will just be Fell the Dragon. And it'll just be deals extra damage to dragons. And it's a very basic type of ability. How much MP are you rocking at, like, level 20? 202? We'll make this cost 18. Strikes the sky. Sure. This one does not have any additional effects. It is a slaying type ability. And sure. All right, so we have the first ability, Fell the Dragon. Next, we are going to work on the Fire, Ice, and Lightning elemental attacks. So how do I want to... How do I want to represent this? I think having, like, kind of grandiose attack names is kind of fun. Let's go with a little bit of an increase in power. This also applies counter fire and can apply burning. Burning is a basic damage over time effect. Okay. Deals physical fire damage 50% chance to set the target on fire. We'll give the debuffs a 50% rate on these. So this will be Ignition Strike. And it hits with Pierce Fire. Strikes with fire. Okay. So that's Ignition Strike. This one can apply Freeze, strikes with ice, Pierce Ice, physical attack one enemy. We'll make them all a little bit more variable. They can all basically cost the same. I think that's fine. Deals physical ice damage. Instead of counter fire, you run counter ice. 50% chance to freeze the target. And instead of Ignition Strike, this will be Frost shock. No, what's another term I could use? Something else related to cold. Maybe some music will help me think. Not Froststrike. Snow. There it is. Cold Snap Strike. Okay, next move deals physical thunder damage? How do I refer to thunder damage? Lightning damage. Okay. Deals physical lightning damage with a 50% chance to shock the target. Did I ever have a state called shock? Because freeze already paralyzes. Burn is already a damage over time. Let's see. I think having a move that kind of just reduces attack and magic attack is fine. So it'll bring your attack and your magic attack down by a third. Okay. With the paralysis overlay, this is going to be shocked. So-and-so is shocked. So-and-so is shocked. So-and-so is no longer shocked. And this has counter lightning. This deals lightning. Lightning, Pierce Thunder, strikes with lightning. Alright, so what do I call this? We have Ignition Strike, Cold Snap Strike. The Discharge Strike. I think that works. So that means that we have now gotten our next attacks. Okay. So we had discussed the execution ability. So this one we're basically going to have to common event. This is going to be a little bit involved. So this is going to be execute. We're gonna make it more expensive. It just does physical damage if it doesn't work. With a higher variance, it can crit. I think that works. Yeah, it's one enemy at random. Chance to insta-kill initially activates one axe, but powers up. Okay. That is fine. So this is going to be execute normal. This is going to be execute kill. And it deals 9,9,999 damage with no variation, no ability to critically hit. It does not trigger any countering effects. And this is going to be insta-kill. So, insta-kill damage. It is certain to hit. Just with straight up the death effect. Okay. Lands a killing blow. We don't need a description because this is one that's going to be activated by common ability. Or by a common event. So the regular one is just a regular attack that hits hard. So-and-so delivers a devastating blow. MP cost set to 0, again because these are going to be activated by common events. Okay, that is fine. So the next thing we need to do is take insta-kill and set it to 0% for all bosses. Wendigo, Legolas, and I do have to set this on all of the old bosses simply because of how the arena functions. So, Zombie Flesh Puddle, the Domination Fungus, the Strange Zombie, the Dark Dragon, Zolter, all the stages of the False Hydra, the Angry Drugged Catman, Captain Klobba and First Mate Goldback, and the Storm Dragon, the Mercenary in all of his forms, Sarsaparilla, and okay. And this we need to change the name to Fierce Fighting Feline just because. It's a thing for the arena. Then we need to add this to the secondary versions, just so that all of them are immune to insta-kill effects. Withering Heads and the Frost and Flame Heads, it's fine if those can be insta-kill. That really doesn't make a difference. Resilient Eggs, they should be immune. Worm Hatchlings, it's fine if they are. Okay. So, Timmy can use Execute, and then when they use Execute, it has a chance of doing an insta-kill on a random enemy, but will not kill bosses, or it'll just do a big strike. Okay. So Execute, deal heavy damage to a random enemy, may instantly kill non-boss enemies, chance increases with level. I think that's a good way to put it. So this is going to target yourself. It is not going to have an associated message. And it will apply the null animation state, just so it won't say it didn't do anything. And then it will play a common event, event number 66. And this one does need to be pretty expensive. This is a very, very powerful attack. So first we get a power-up animation on... we get a power-up animation on Timmy, and then it will play the common event. So this is execution logic. So the first thing it'll do is set the variable temp A equal to a random number between 1 and 100. Okay. And then there will be a conditional. So if the temp A is... Do I want less than or equal? Less than or greater than? Less than or equal to. If temp A is less than or equal to... We're actually going to have to use temp B here as well. So temp A is going to be a random number between 1 and 100. Temp B is going to be set equal to Timmy's level. So then if the random number generated is less than or equal to Timmy's level. I know it says Elena, but that's just a placeholder. I'm just gonna swap it. There we go. So that doesn't confuse me. So if the number it came up with is less than or equal to Timmy's level, then we force an action. We force Timmy to use the skill execute kill on a random target. And if their level is higher than the random number it generates... No, if they're... if their level... Okay, if the random number is lower than or equal to their level, they execute. And if the random number is higher than their level, then it'll just do a random execution attack. So that way, the higher Timmy's level goes, the greater their chance of pulling off the super kill. And I think that's kind of fun. So now we have Fell the Dragon, Ignition Strike, Cold Snap Strike, Discharge Strike, Execute, and both versions of Execute. Okay. And then finally we are going to have Tantrum. And this is going to be Annoyed, which will use this. So-and-so's annoyed, so-and-so's annoyed, so-and-so is no longer annoyed with the rage. So this will cause the target's attack and magic attack to increase, but it will decrease defense and magic defense, and it will also reduce hit rate by a little bit. Okay. So this is going to be the Tantrum ability. Let's put it all the way down here, just because I'm sure I'll have other abilities that we put. So this is another slang ability. This is actually going to be very expensive. It's going to affect all of the enemies. Timmy is throwing a tantrum. Okay. What works for a tantrum? Yeah, sure. Timmy is throwing a tantrum. So it has, let's say, a 50% chance to apply Annoyed to each enemy. Alright. 50% chance to annoy each enemy. Affects all enemies. 50% chance to annoy. Reducing defenses and chance to hit, but increasing attack. Okay. I think that's actually it for Tantrum. Like, this is legitimately all that I need. Okay, so there is the Tantrum ability, which means that we have now finished with Timmy's abilities. So we just need to make a few things here. Permanent debuff immunity now also must resist against shock and annoyed. And let's see. Because that's the permanent debuff immunity. I'm pretty sure I have a different debuff immunity effect. I mean, if I do, it's going to be like ridiculously long list of things. Berserk, yes, okay. Berserk also resists. That's buff removal. No, that's intangible. Status ailment block. There it is. Okay. Make sure there's not another one on the list. Sealing also needs to block tactics, holy arts, hunting, and slaying, and dark dragon abilities. So the Hydra Mist blocks green, red, storm, dark, blue, holy arts, tactics. It also needs to block hunting and slaying, just so the Hydra's ability actually works on everybody. Okay, perfect. So we don't actually worry a great deal about these abilities until later. Okay. So we're going to give you a 75% resistance to burning. We are going to give you a 100, just a state resistance for freezing. Just because bosses should not be affected by that. Shock is fine at 50%. Annoyed is fine at 50%. And we are going to take all of these and we are going to add them to other bosses. Okay. There we go. Captain Klaba. Yes, that is fine. Storm Dragon also gets these. Mercenary gets these. This is the tough part of the project where you have to go back and sort of adjust the resistance on basically everything that you built up to that point. Oh, yeah, the eggs should basically have total immunity, but whatever, it's fine. Okay, next thing I need to do is add Dragon Weakness to all of the Dragon-type enemies. There we go. Dragons. Yep. Storm Dragon. You know what? I'll say the Furnace Phoenix is technically a dragon. Why not? Dark Dragon. I think the only other dragon we have is Red Dragon. I don't really believe that there's anything else that qualifies as a dragon. Okay, that works. That should be everything adjusted. So now we just change this to be Timmy. There we go. And your class is Dragon Slayer. We are going to have you join at level 20. And I did not even design... Okay. I have not designed any spear weapons yet. Did I ever decide what kind of power the spears should be set at? I did not. Okay. Well, claws are 70. Let's see. So, I guess a good starting point for the spear. The claw went from 60 to 70, sword from 50 to 60, 45 to 48, 68. Let's just really escalate and put the spear at 78. So the first spear will be at 78. And we'll just put it here. It is a spear. It has a power of 78. We'll say it's actually, like, pretty expensive. Okay. And this will be the Slaying Lance. A long, needle-like spear designed to pierce straight through the most powerful, pierce through the thickest scales. Okay, so that is going to be Timmy's starting weapon, the Slaying Lance. Now, I also need to start coming up with the light body armor, the light stuff. Let's put it at 51 and 32. Okay, so light body and light head are 51 and 32 respectively. Okay. So this is 51 light armor. Let's put it at 5,000. This is going to be pretty expensive stuff. Yeah, I think that's fine. What do I want to call it? What do I want to call it? This is our first tier 9 equipment. This is the tier of stuff that's going to be buyable in the next town. This is going to be the Delver's... The Delver's suit. Okay. Durable, reinforced, lightweight armor. Specifically designed to endure the rigors of dungeoneering. Okay, there we go. There's the Delver's suit. We need... Screw it. Okay. This is going to be the Delver's hood. Lightweight hood. It is a light helmet. It'll be like 3,200 to buy it. And I think I set that at 32 for the T9. Yeah, okay. So now we have their starting stuff of a Delver's hood and a Delver's suit. And now we need a T9 shield. So the shield was 29 and 20. So let's just go crazy boosting that up. And let's make it 40-28. So that'll be our T9 shield, which is probably around here somewhere. Here we go. And we'll say that this is like 5,700. Why not? Okay. So defense is 40, magic defense is 30. I don't know. What did I put it at? 28. Magic defense is 28. Shield offhand. Okay. And we are going to increase the block on it to 10. Okay. A nigh impregnable shield crafted from dragon scales. 10% block. So this will just be the dragon shield. Alright. So Timmy's starting gear is a slaying lance, a dragon shield, a delver's hood, a delver's suit. I think that is pretty damn good. Okay. Nice. With that, I would say that we have now officially designed Timmy. Timmy definitely works. So the next thing we are going to do is work on the weather system. I'm not totally sure how we're going to do this. When you go out into the ocean, it'll play the boat storms system. So let's start working with the boat storms. And instead of calling this boat storms, we're just going to make it the weather system. So the first thing it will do is set our temporary variable to a random number between 1 and 6. And there will be a 1 in 6 chance of a weather effect happening. So, if it turns out to be a 6, then we re-roll the variable again. And let's see. Yeah, we'll roll it to a random number between 1 and 8. And then if it is a number less than or equal to 4, we will start a drizzle effect. If it is not a number less than or equal to 4, then if it is less than or equal to 7, we'll have a heavy storm. And if it's not that, then it has to be an 8, and at that point, it's a full-blown storm. So, weather effect, storm. Okay. So at 7, it is a pretty heavy rain. And at 4, it is a very light rain. This may legitimately be all that we need for that. Good morning, Mystic. Welcome to the stream. Weather system, we will have a snow variant, where we will instead have light snow, heavy snow, honestly, just having, like, light and heavy snow is fine. We don't need to go crazy with a snow mechanic. So it'll either be a 4 or it'll be a 9. Okay, perfect. So whenever you get on the boat, it has a chance of producing a weather effect. Okay. Do I want it... Hold on. Do I just want this to happen every time you go into the overworld? Because I originally designed this as a system that would only happen when you got on your boats. It may just be better to have this be a thing that can happen anytime you transition into the overworld. So, yeah, let's just remove the weather system call from every dock in the world. And then we're just going to have to go through and make a few individual changes on literally dozens of maps. But it should be fine. It won't be too hard to identify anywhere that we've, like, made a bug. So I am going to have to go through every single map in every single act. Oh my god. Okay, something major just glitched. Hold on. Okay, we're back. The maps all just disappeared from the UI, but they're here. They're fine. I think it's just because it was too much for it to update all at once. It's fine. Alright. So... So I don't think we need that. So when we leave Glarf, it will run the common event. Weather system. And we're just going to have to take this and paste it basically everywhere. And we're going to have to make sure that any map that can come into is also going to have a weather reset thing so that the weather turns off when you transfer into it. Okay. Alright, so that is our first map. It doesn't matter in here. We've got the Legacy Rain system. So it's not going to have to be every map, but every map that has a transfer to the outside, to the overworld, is going to need to have the weather system call added to all of its overworld transition points. Which shouldn't be too much of a problem. Good. So that takes care of Glarf. That takes care of Spire Town. The mines also have the legacy system in place. Now this one goes out to the Tundra, which is an interior cell. But after you've cleared that, it can take you to the overworld, and if it takes you to the overworld, then it will call the snow weather system. Okay. Pyramid only has a single exit point. Alright, so Pyramid and Mines are accounted for. The mountains can call the weather system. And does have the legacy system, so that's good. The cabin exterior needs to be able to call the snow weather system. That's actually an error that I made, because the mountains exit should also be calling the snow weather system. Okay, good. The mountain exterior, that's all done. The tundra... Okay. This also calls the snow weather system. Okay. That is fine. When you exit the fissure, it has an opportunity to send you to the overworld, in which case it would activate the snow system. The Ice Cave just sends you back to the Tundra. Ice Cave 2 sends you back to the Tundra. Chill also can send you out to the overworld, so we need the snow system. And the snow system. And the snow system. Okay, this one has rain deactivation. That one has rain deactivation. That one has rain deactivation. This one has rain deactivation. We're almost through Act 1. Actually, we are through Act 1. Alright, moving on to Act 2 map. This is actually going to go a lot easier. So, if you're going up there, again, it can be the snow. Those are interiors. No. Okay, that's all fine. Alright, Wallachia is pretty simple. We just need the regular weather system for Wallachia. And just like that. Just like that. Just like that. And... okay, you have weather deactivation. Good. Terminal, tunnel... all of these are fine. None of these go to the exteriors. Okay, abandoned temple. This is actually working very well. Okay, interior, basement, tunnel. None of that connects to the outside. None of this connects to the outside. The watchtower does. The graveyard gardens do not connect to the outside. Yeah, basically none of that connects to the outside. None of that connects to the outside, so that finishes Act 2. Okay. Batfolk Village. Okay, good. Mountain now has weather. The Pepsi Land Swamp. Okay, Pepsi Land exterior, all that is fine. The Splitting Cave can activate the weather system. Okay. Catfolk Village can activate the weather system. The arenas don't need that. The docks do need that. Okay. The hidden dock does call the weather system, because that is a true transition. Jungle does not. Jungle does not. Island Base does call the weather system. Okay. The Special Swamp does call the weather system. I would not be at all surprised if I am missing a few transfer points, but I truly don't think it's actually going to matter. Okay, that's good. The cat-based dock, again, activates the weather system. Good. The entire cat base area does not apply. The Pepsi factory does not apply. The Rift area does not apply. Okay. So... one thing we do need is to add a transition to this one, since you're moving onto the ocean away from the snowy area. So anything that transitions away from the snowy area should avoid that. Okay, I think I now have a functional weather system. There should be a 1 in 6 chance of activating a weather effect whenever we go in here. Yes. These transitions should not alter that. Cool. It should stop raining when I go in. Okay, Cat Folk Village does not have a reset. Damn it. So you need to have no weather effects. Are there other... are there other areas here that did not have resets? That has a reset. That I know has a reset. That has a reset. This does not have a reset. Okay. Cool. So, cat-based dock now has a reset. Alright, so we should be able to go in and out to cycle weather effects. So there is a light rain. There's a heavy rain. Alright, I think that's pretty good. Now let's try it with the snow area. I am not seeing anything triggering the snow. Okay, there we go. Alright, so the snow does trigger. We just got very unlucky seeing it happen. Okay, and when we got off of there... Okay. Alright, still a couple things that we need to get figured out. Oh. 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 Okay, all of the... Oh, boy. Okay, that's fine. All we really need to do is just have it turn on the rain activated switch. So switch number 238. Okay, how did my plugin for the rain work? Summons a storm in battle with BGS and restores previous state active. When you use on, it turns on the switch. Okay. So a lot of these places, the way that they used to work with rain is that they would only turn off rain if rain was on. But now I have integrated the legacy switch into the weather call system, so it should work fine. So when we got on here, it should have been calling the weather system. Right. So on top of calling the weather system, it also first needs to turn off the weather so that it can't keep it snowing when we transition. And then we need to have a similar system here. Okay, that probably takes care of all the issues with the weather system. I am sure that as I play and test it, I will identify more bugs. In fact, I will be utterly shocked and a little suspicious and paranoid if I don't. But we have now designed the random overworld weather system, which is exactly what I wanted to happen. And then we're going to make one more change to this. We are going to have a switch that lets us track if there's weather going on. So we will have a weather active switch, and every time weather is called, that switch will turn off. And then if it turns on the weather, we will have it turn weather active on. This will let us have, like, some special encounters that only occur during, like, weather. I know rain activated basically serves the same function, but I have this one, switch number 238, integrated into a plugin now for the rain summoning spell. And I genuinely do not know if it will have compatibility issues with this. So we're just going to use a second switch for the purpose of generally tracking if storms are going on. And then with the Storm Dragon will only appear if a weather effect is active. So there has to be rain happening for the Storm Dragon encounter to now appear in its usual spot. Okay, so the only other things on today's agenda were to start work on a viewer-designed city. I was going to work with Coles on that. There hasn't been much communication during today's stream, so that is something I basically can't do right now. And then more Act 4 world planning. Honestly, we can continue working on that on the next stream. The important thing is that I knocked out a crap load of stuff today. We got our 6th and final party member, Timmy, designed. We got their stats, we got their appearance, we have their starter abilities. I did not give them their starter abilities. Right. It works best if I actually give them their abilities. Here we go. So I believe I gave them 6 to start out with. Fell the Dragon, Ignition Strike, Cold Snap Strike, Discharge Strike, Execute, and Tantrum. Okay, perfect. Does the Hungering Mace count as a crowbar? I cannot remember. I hope it does. Yes, okay, it still counts as a crowbar. All right, so we designed Timmy. We gave them their appearance, their stats, their starting abilities, and their starting gear. We designed the first bits of the T9 gear, which is going to be buyable in the primary Act 4 hub. So now I've actually got like a few basic values to start working from. We designed the storm system. And yeah, I think that's about it. On the next stream, hopefully if I can communicate with who I need to, we can start work on the viewer designed city that is going to form the primary hub for Act 4. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything here. This is an irrelevant piece of information. Nope, that's all basically fine. Okay. So, yeah, I think that's going to be it for my stream today. Thank you all so much for coming. I always do appreciate it. You can be here again next week, Sunday, same time. We're going to be continuing our work on the Community RPG Maker project. We're actually going to start with Act 4 map work. I am really excited about that. Also, keep an eye out. On my itch.io page, which I believe I have down in the description. I mean, I sure as hell hope I have them down in the descriptions. I haven't actually checked that in quite a while. I do. Okay. So in the description of the video, there's a link to my IO page. At the version available there, the publicly playable version, is going to be updated later today. So you'll be able to play the entire game up through the end of Act 3. So that's going to be fun. The current daily series on the channel right now is Coin Tavern for the next couple days. Then we're going into Skyrim. My first time doing the Thieves Guild and Dark Brotherhood quest lines. After that, I'm going to be playing Ni no Kuni. And Saturdays, I am streaming my first time playing Pokemon Moon. I believe that covers everything. I'm going to go and get something to drink and eat. I will see you all in the next one, and it is time to make the sound to sup the end of the stream. Wow, 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 wow.